Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Canadian Board of Aesthetic Medicine webinar. My name is Mohsen. I'm the director of Canadian Board. We are here with Mr. Azizsoltani, the Chartered Professional Accountant. We were thinking to invite an expert to discuss about the new the economic response plan that the government has released. We all know that a lot of healthcare practitioners right now at the front line. We're really grateful to them, to the colleagues who are working and fighting for us actually. But at the same time, we have our main target, who our members who are taking courses with us, and they are in the field of aesthetic medicine. We were thinking that would be nice if we have, because everything's happening so fast, and I'm sure not all of us have time to go through all the details of this financial assistance, that to see which one of us are, I would say, eligible to take any of these assistance. So we were thinking to ask an expert to be here, so to explain in more details, and we ask our questions. To be more specific, the practitioners who work in the field of aesthetic medicine, I would categorize them into three groups, because a lot of practitioners, they have their own practice in different fields, either in a private practice, or they work in the hospital as a family practice or different fields, but they would do the aesthetic medicine on the side. So this is one group. I would say these are the small businesses that they would probably need to know about the eligibility criteria for this financial assistance. There is another group of practitioners who are, I would say, working in the hospital, but on the side working in another clinic as an employee. So they want to know that how they can become eligible. And the third group are any of the healthcare practitioners who have the clinic. Actually, they open a corporation and they hire others. So I would say all three are getting affected by this plan, and it's good to know to see who is, all the details about the plans for each group. I don't know. I think that's nothing else came to my mind. I think that I can categorize, or you can explain any more details. So the way it works, we're going to have this webinar. I would prefer to make everyone mute. Mr. Azizsoltani will have his presentation, and then we would keep all the questions at the end. I will not open the microphones. I prefer to prevent the chaos. So what I would do is I will leave the text part open, so you can ask your questions. You can even ask your questions right now, and then at the end we will collect all the questions. I will bring them back one by one and he will answer. We are expecting the presentation part to be about 30 minutes, if I'm not wrong, and then Q&A might take as long as we need. We are here for about 1 to 1.5 hours. I'm expecting, depends on how many questions we will receive. The whole presentation, including Q&A, will be recorded and will be available on all our platforms later on. So if you had to leave and you will not be able to stay, so you can receive this later. Also, in that recorded version, we will leave a form that you can ask your questions, which directly will be received by Mr. Azizsoltani, and he will be in contact with you and answer your questions if you had any further questions later on. And that's it. I will leave. You can start, and then I will be back after you are done with your presentation with the questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Talani. Hello, everyone. As Dr. Talani mentioned, I am Reza Azizsoltani. I'm a chartered accountant with the province of Ontario since 2010. And basically, my services are through the taxation, corporate taxation, and basically anything related to bookkeeping, accounting, and taxation. I am located in basically north of Toronto, the city of Vaughan, and I've been doing this for the last couple of years. And I'm sorry for the very short notice. The reason that we had to go through this short notice presentation is because due to the COVID-19, the government has decided to provide basically some economic plan, response plan, and these are basically changing every day. And for those of you who are basically eligible to receive these, we wanted to make sure that you are receiving it and you are basically passing this bridge of financial hardship. Without further ado, I'm going to start the presentation. Before starting the presentation, I would like to remind you that this presentation and all other presentations that I have through seminars or webinars that I basically deliver throughout the year and these past years, I provide this disclaimer to make sure that viewers and my audience get their professional advice either from the legal or from the accounting and taxation side, as you know, what we basically provide here is for informational purposes only and cannot be a kind of prescription for everyone. Other than this today's presentation is based on the plans that the government of Canada has been introducing since mid-March. And as you all know, these plans have been changed on a daily basis. I myself follow at least twice a day. I have 1 year on it. And if there is anything I have to make, I am basically making sure that I am up to date with all the changes. And so if you would like to make any decision, please ensure that the information that you have received and the information that you are applying for that decision is up to date. The government has introduced a plan that is a financial aid under the Business Credit Availability Program, which is $65 billion. And this is a lending program. It is not basically $65 billion, you know, free money, but it is a lending program that $25 billion that I'm going to talk about in the next slide is under Canada Emergency Business Account, something that many people, many business owners are interested. And this is basically based on case-by-case review, and it is done by financial institutions and banks. The Canada Emergency Business Account is basically providing up to $40,000 loan, and this is interest-free loan to businesses, and this interest-free loan is interest-free up until end of December 2022. So the government is saying that if you want to make sure that you are eligible for this, you need to have minimum $50,000 payroll on 2019 payroll account, meaning that if your corporation has $50,000 to $1 million payroll, and they say $1 million cap because this is an aid to small businesses, right? They don't want to basically put this for huge corporations. So if your payroll for 2019, not your payroll, but your payroll account, that total of your payroll account that you basically paid your staff, yourself, and all people who were basically in your corporation, if the total is above $50,000, then you will be eligible to receive this loan, which is up to $40,000. The way it works is basically you you get this $40,000 as a line of credit, and then you are going to pay it back up until end of December 2020. And if you don't pay it back by that time, then they are going to put you in basically a loan on a term, which I don't have any banking experience. I'm not really a banker, but I talked to a very reliable source in a bank, and they told me he told me that they are going to put the balance of your line, this line of credit, uh, on a 3-year term with 5% interest. And if you pay it by the end of December 2022, then 25% of it will be waived. So other thing that the government has introduced is the flexibility of CRA in taxation. So what they have introduced is that instead of putting April 30th for the deadline of tax filing and tax owed payment, they extended the filing to June 1st and the payment to September 1st. So if you are filing your tax return as an individual, or basically instead of submitting it uh, instead of paying interest as of May 1st, you can postpone the payment up until end of August, and then once it comes to September 2nd, then um, you are going to be charged for interest. And the filing also has been extended to June 1st. Keep in mind for HST remittance and payments have been changed to June 30th. That is another extension that the government made. For corporations, because corporations deadline depends on the year end. What the government did is that if your filing due date falls between March 18th and June 1st of 2020, then your deadline for filing is going to be June 1st. Of course, the deadline for payment is on September 1st. Something that you need to note is that the payroll remittance remains the same. There is no change on the dates, and basically, if you have been paying by mid of each month, by the 15th of each month, that remains the same. Another program, this one is for employers, and that is the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. This subsidy is basically how it works is that if you're eligible, the government will pay up to 75% of the salary of your staff, as long as it is up to the insurable earning, which is $58,700. So that translates to $847 a week. And this is taxable, and it is for 3 months. So basically, let's say you have an employee who is making $40,000 a year. That employee will not receive $847 per week. That employee will receive 75% of his or her regular paycheck. But if you have an employee who is receiving $90,000 payroll per year, that employee will only receive up to 75% of the first $58,700, which basically is $847. To be eligible, basically you have two approaches as of yesterday. Yesterday, Mr. Trudeau introduced another approach. The first approach, the one that was initially introduced, was basically if your revenue has declined in March or any month, has declined in March or any month uh, compared to the similar month last year. So basically, there is actually a chart. Basically, it tells you that if you are considering this period in 2020, compare it to this period in 2019. That program had some basically issues, and that is one of the things that people were not happy with, is that they didn't really consider corporations and businesses that have been established very recently, and they don't have any history from last year this time. Also, corporations that are newbie, and even last year this time, they were not making a lot of money, and they were basically on the beginning of their curve. So what they did starting yesterday, they said that the other approach is the average approach, and if your revenue has declined 30% or more compared to the average of January and February, then you are eligible. And even if you compare it to March, it is 15%, because March we went through COVID when we were halfway through March. Other thing that the government has encouraged employers, they are urging employers to pay the 25% balance to top up the salary that the staff is missing. This program has started as of this Monday, April 6th. Monday just passed, and you basically apply it through CRA if you are eligible. Once you are approved, then you're good to go for 1 month. And you need to apply it every month, because the government reviews your case on a monthly basis. If you are arm's length to your employer, as an employee, if you are arm's length to your employer, meaning that your family member is working for your business, or you yourself are on payroll of your business, then the government says maximum is going to be $847 per week, and 70%, 75% of what your wage was before this crisis. So again, the maximum is 847. Another program that basically has been introduced is work sharing program. This program was already in place before COVID-19, but the government has extended the program to the length of 76 weeks, which is basically starting March 15 to, which basically applies for the period of March 15 to March 14, 2021. And in this program, basically the government and the employees and the employer should come to an agreement reviewed by Service Canada, that the number of hours of the employees will be distributed between the employees. So if you have an employee that is working for 35 hours and an employee that is working for 10 hours, instead of eliminating the employee with lower number of hours, you basically distribute the number of hours between the two, or between the number of employees, and the government will basically help you to make sure that you are not letting people go or laying them off. The details of this program is basically based on the calculation and based on the salaries of the employees and the amounts that you have been paying them, their wages, and basically it needs a little bit of calculation and filing forms, and it is out of the scope of this presentation. Summer job program, another program, and this one has been introduced yesterday morning. So for summer job program, which applies to students between the age of 15 and 30, the government is saying that they are going to pay 100%, up to 100% of the minimum wage through the employer. So this is another incentive for the employers to hire students and basically hire youth and pay them so that they also have a job and they can basically build their future. This program can also be on a part-time basis. Some employers may not need one full-time or no full-time staff, but they can go with the part-time and still apply for this program. Another one is CURB. This one is basically the program that is for employees and basically for individuals. And this is the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, which is basically CURB or CERB. This is $2,000 taxable benefit. Remember, it is taxable like all other ones, and it is up to the maximum of 16 weeks. This program is basically with the increments of 4 weeks. Every time that you are eligible for 4 weeks, you apply and you receive the money. And then next time you need to apply again. In regards to the eligibility, the applicant should have lost job or be sick or quarantine or be a caregiver. A little bit of elaboration on this means that lost jobs means that you don't necessarily have to lose your job. Don't know why it jumps. For some reason, sorry about that. For some reason, it jumps. So you don't really need to lose your job. You don't really need to cut relationship between employee and employer. As long as there is or there is not a relationship, but the reason that the person has gone to zero income is because there is a shortage of work, that would be enough. So losing job, providing ROE is not really necessary. As long as the employee says, okay, go home, we will call you back later on when the economy is better, then we are going to, you're going to be qualified. Also, if you're sick due to COVID-19, if you are self-isolated due to COVID-19, or if you are taking care of somebody who is sick, like elderly adults or basically kids who are basically in need of your help to pass through their sickness. Also, if you do have to stay home to take care of your kids because the daycare is closed, you are eligible. This program is basically designed for wage earners, contractors, and self-employees. So that means that if you haven't contributed for EI account in 2019, this program is for you. Another criteria to test if you are eligible or not is residing in Canada, you are over 15 years old, and the reason that you have stopped working is COVID-19. This means that if you have lost your job sometimes in January, if you have lost your job in February, unfortunately, as of now, this doesn't fall under CURB. And this is something that many people are affected. And we were working with, like some banks and some other, government through the CPA Canada and through the banks. I've heard that people are basically trying to pass the message to the government that there is a huge sector of unemployed people that this program is not covering. So I won't be surprised that in very near future they make a change on this as well. Another criteria is $5,000 income in 2019 or last 12 years. So if prior to applying your income has been $5,000 or more, you are meeting this this line of the eligibility. Also, the income has to be an earned income. meaning that it is on employment or self-employment. So if you have made money because of trades of, let's say, stocks, or if you have a rental property, that is not an income. The income is basically self-employment or employment income. One other criteria, last but not least, is that for 14 consecutive days, you have zero income. So zero employment or self-employment income you need to have, and or you know that in the next 14 days and next 4 weeks, you are not going to make money out of your employment or self-employment. This is something that the government also changed, because they said that prior to applying 14 days of uh, 14 days of consecutive non-payment. Now they changed it to will also. So if you know that in future you are not going to receive it, you can claim this $2,000. Another thing, as a reminder, the government says that this has been always in place, which basically it is the EI for sickness benefit, not regular benefit. Regular benefit is when you lose your job. For sickness benefit, you can get up to 55% of the insurable earning, and that is to the maximum of $573 per week for 15 weeks. The reason should be either sickness or safe isolation or anything that related to COVID-19, any sickness that is related to COVID-19. And the application is through Service Canada. I'm going to talk a little bit more on this because the government has mentioned this, but there is another reminder that the government talks about, and I'm going to bring it up a little bit later. Common questions that we heard is basically, what if I am reviewed? Well, the government says that they are going to take these plans very seriously, and they want to ensure that people who are qualified are the ones that are applying. They are saying that abusing the system, abusing the trust has effect on your criminal records, and in some cases has up to 5 years of imprisonment. But on the other hand, it says that if you have received a letter from us that we would like to review your case, they say that for the time being, don't worry. Try to stay healthy, focus on your health, focus on your family and friends, and make sure that everybody is basically passing this crisis safe and sound. But then later on, we are going to send you a letter, and we ask you for supporting documentation. Other thing is that, should I apply for EI or CURB? Remember, I was talking about it in the previous slide. So the government has introduced CURB and also reminded that this has been always in place, that you can apply for EI sickness. But now they're saying that because there is a huge amount of application for EI, like third week of March, I believe, the average 45,000 per week has moved to 1.1 million applications. So they said that, okay, we are going to create a panel, one special program for this purpose, which is CURB. So if you are doing this, if you have stopped working because of COVID-19, you need to apply for CURB, regardless if you are eligible for EI or not. Other question is that I have already applied for EI. So what happens? So the government says, if you have applied for EI before March 15, let it go. It is going to be processed, and you will be basically paid through EI. But any application after March 15 has the government will automatically transfer it to CURB. You don't need to do anything. It will be transferred by the government to CURB. And mind you, this is EI for regular or sickness benefit. What if I quit my job? This is a case for many people. Many people think that, okay, my job environment is not clean, is not safe, and I rather stay home and stay safe. Unfortunately, government in this area is basically saying that you have lost your job voluntarily, and this is basically a decision that you made. Because of that, you're not entitled to receive this program. I'm already receiving EI. Should I apply for CURB? Okay, the government says if you are already receiving EI, don't apply for CURB. Wait until your EI benefit is over. Once it is over and no more EI you are entitled to, then assess yourself, and if you are eligible, then apply for CURB. And in a nutshell, you cannot receive benefits from two different plans, different programs at the same time. I'm entitled to more than $500 per week under EI. So, some people receive more than 500 from EI and some people receive less. So some people say, okay, I'm entitled to receive more than 500, but this CURB is only 500 flat. So where is the difference? The government says, regardless how much you receive from EI, the CURB is $500 flat. Once the CURB is over, then apply for EI if you are eligible, and they have promised that your EI will not be reduced by the amount that you received from CURB. So the entitlement of the EI will not be damaged. Okay, so this is basically an update of the government, the most updated that the government has announced in the federal level, and also basically they are going to keep all these in a municipal level as well, and also in provincial level. But I kept it as a federal because this presentation is only designed for you guys, and you might come from different parts of Canada, so I kept it only for the federal. For further information regarding the provincial and municipal benefits, please check the area where you live and basically the province that you live. My information is on the screen. My email is reza@azizsoltanicpa.ca. Phone number is 416-806-6462. I believe my information is going to be on the website. So anytime if you need any question be answered, please don't be shy. You know who to contact. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. That was amazing. Oh, Dr. Reza is here as well. Perfect. That was very comprehensive. We have Dr. Reza here as well.
Hi, Reza. Hi, Mohsen. It was awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I just I have a couple of questions here already. I will collect the questions and just do you want to ask something, Dr. Reza, before, or you want to add something before we start Q&A?
I have a few questions, but I will let you to ask the question from all the attendees, and I have also a few questions that is more. I try to be more a kind of general questions that in case of this is the same question other people have, we try to cover that.
Yeah, I'm more. If you can ask more from aesthetic approach. You know, like probably our audience mostly they are in that field, so that would be also good. I have one question. They asking, I'm eligible for the CURB due to the self-isolation from my hospital job. I don't know if that's a question or is like informing us. Is that a question? I am eligible for the CURB due to the self-isolation from my hospital job. I think he's trying to ask, am I eligible for the curb due to the self-isolation? But can I get any other help for closing my business? Oh, okay, I repeat again. I'm eligible for the curb due to the self-isolation from my hospital job already, but can I get another help for closing my business on the side? That's the question.
Okay, for closing the business, you mean for the business that has been closed?
Probably is one of the self-employed that they have a side business. As I said, there is a group of our audience. They work in the hospital. They keep their job. Very few audience. They're 100% in the static field. They keep their hospital shifts, but they have a small practice on the side for the static field. That, yeah.
Okay, so if I understand it the question correctly, regarding curb, the person who asked this question basically, I guess the first part of the sentence was more informative than what was more a statement than a question. To the best of my knowledge, I would say that maybe he or she wants to check again the eligibility of curb, because curb is basically saying that if you are isolated, or if you are sitting at home, or if you are basically not receiving any income. But there is a little exception to the rule, and that exception is saying that this is not for employees of the public sector. The employees of the public sector are employees who are receiving payroll from colleges, universities, crown, hospitals, and municipalities. So they are not entitled to curb. So I would recommend that this person who asked the question to check again the eligibility of the curb. Now, talking about the business, my understanding is that what I should do, or what I can do in order to bring back the business that is closed, or something like, I'm not really sure, is the business considered non-essential and it has been ordered to close it or not?
If you don't mind, just explain both of them. If they are ordered to close it, or either way, that is a non-essential one. Yeah.
Okay, so basically one of the programs is the wage subsidy. So the government is trying to basically keep the employment in place and bring and avoid dropping the unemployment rate, right? Well, avoid increasing the unemployment rate. But that only applies if you have an open business. If your business cannot be open, let's say, I understand this is a business for statistics, but just to make it simple, let's say you have a clothing store, and your store is in a mall. Number one, your store is not going to be essential. Number two, the mall is shut down. So although you want to hire your employees, you want to rehire them, or you want to run the business, you cannot. That is one thing. But again, for answering to your question, this is one of the plans. Other plan is that if you have provided, if you had $50,000 minimum $50,000 payroll in 2019, you are eligible to receive the $40,000 or up to $40,000 loan. This is one of the things that when your business is closed and you still are paying your rent, you're paying your bills, you still have some expenses, and once we pass this bridge and we want to open our businesses, we have a lot of expenses to catch up. You can apply, if you're eligible, you can apply for the loan, which is interest-free until end of December 2020. If your business is closed, the wage subsidy doesn't really apply, but later on, when the business is open, you can still apply. I don't know by that time if they change it, but my understanding is, just give me 1 second, let me check the dates. The government says is between March 15 and June 6, June 20. So if this comes to March 15 and June 20 and you're opening, then you can apply for this. If the COVID-19 situation crisis extends to further date, I believe that they are going to extend these as well.
Can I ask something here? It's very important because I know that the target of the audience here are all people who are in the field of aesthetic medicine, and they are either the owner of the aesthetic medicine clinics or they are one of the employees. But regardless, all the aesthetic clinics at this moment are closed because they are considered as a non-essential service. So my understanding is that in this situation, none of us are really eligible for kind of the wage subsidy program because basically officially we are not allowed to be open at this point. So we cannot keep the employees and pay the 75%, and I mean the government pay the 75% and we pay the 25% until June 6th. Am I correct?
Correct. At this time, as long as you are not able to open the business and rehire your staff,
Okay.
you cannot apply for this. But once you hire this, you're opening the business, reopening the business, and hiring the staff or rehiring the staff, then you can apply for it. Again, this is up until June 20th, and I believe they are going to extend it because of the news that we heard today, and that they believe that this era is going to be extended with what they have they had in mind a couple of days ago. So I believe that it is going to be extended, but as of now, the period is going to be ended June 20th.
So then the only option for us at this moment is basically should be all curb, basically.
As an employee, it's a curb. As a business, I believe is the interest-free loan, which is basically reviewed by the financial institutions. There is an application that basically you follow, you file with them, and this has been online with the banks and financial institutions, and basically they review it, and based on the eligibility you receive, and that is to the maximum of $40,000.
Okay, so if you are a business owner, and sometimes you are a business owner and at the same time you are employee as well, so basically you are paying yourself as a payroll. So are you eligible now for both? As a business owner, you can get the loan, and then as an employee of the business, you can get the curb?
The government did not say no. The government is saying that you are not eligible to receive both programs that are designed for individuals, which is basically EI and curb. As long as it comes to EI and curb, they cannot be side by side. They have to be one at a time. But for businesses, you can apply for a business, for your business, and get the loan, and you can also apply for curb and get the curb as an individual. But if you apply for the loan and you get the money and then you pay yourself from your corporation, then your income is not going to be zero, and then you are not going to be qualified for curb. So basically, you can use that loan. To the best of my understanding, you can use that loan to pay your business expenses, right, for the period that basically you're not working.
Except your own salary. Don't pay your own salary because then you have income. Okay,
Yep.
so I just do you have more questions, Dr. Reza?
I have no question, but if you have some question, you can ask, and I can give you the
Let's
question.
go through the audience. So the same audience is asking. I'm so sorry. I don't know if it's a he or she based on the name. Is saying I did not have 50,000 payroll. So technically, based on what you said, this kind of for this business, if it is non-essential, this plan doesn't work anyways, right? Because somebody, yeah, go ahead.
So basically, basically the program is saying that it is minimum $50,000 payroll issue. So this is a threshold that they put, and they may change it because many corporations, small corporations, don't have $50,000 payroll. But you need to keep this in mind that corporations, if you have a corporation, you have to be on your payroll. I have seen, I have been working in this field for over 15 years in Canada. I have seen many corporations that the directors of the corporation are not on payroll and they are paid via dividend or management fee, which are not, this way is not correct. Especially management fee is something that the government said no since a couple of years ago. So every single person on a corporation, if you are a director and you are withdrawing money from your corporation, this withdrawal has to be in the form of a payroll. And then the difference, if let's say you are withdrawing, let's say $80,000 per year, you are going on to be on payroll for, let's say, $60,000. So you are getting paid $60,000 per year. And when your accountant does the financial statements and basically balances your account, comes to a point that you have withdrawn more. So if you have withdrawn more, that falls under dividend, right? So that means that your corporation has issued dividend. But I have seen many people that they get only dividends. So the entire year they withdraw money as much as they want, and then at year end the accountant issues them a dividend, which is not necessarily correct from the tax point of view, because the government wants people to be on payroll, wants to make sure that people on payroll are not different from people who have their own businesses. If you are an employee, let's say you are working for a huge organization, you're working for IBM, you are working for Microsoft, you are basically paying the government, you are basically paying CPP, Canada Pension Plan, throughout the year. The government wants to have the same treatment for the directors of the corporations, for the self-employees. These people, this sort of people also needs to contribute to their tax payments and CPP account throughout the year. That's why the government says payroll. And when you are applying for this $40,000 loan, the first thing they ask you is that what is the amount on box 14? And box 14 is the gross pay on your payroll summary. This means that the government did not oversight or ignore people who are not on payroll. No, they have seen it, but they are assuming that everybody is on payroll as if they must be.
Okay, so good. So Naomi is asking, I think it's very similar question. If my business is closed and I don't have the 50,000 payroll, is there any other program I can apply for? Which I think you kind of answered.
So basically, in a nutshell, I believe the $50,000 is the threshold. I believe, I'm sure as of now, but they may change it. That's why I say I believe, because it depends, on the changes. The government has been very criticized that they haven't seen this sector, that sector, and that's why they are changing it. Since yesterday, they changed, a little bit on the program, and they brought in youth between the age of 15 to 30. And also they changed the eligibility criteria from the 30% to 30% year over year to 30% of the average previous 2 months of March, which is January and February. So you never know. You need to keep an eye on it, because I have a good feeling that they are going to change it. There are many people, many small businesses, that they haven't paid $50,000 to payroll. Everything is legit, but basically having all these costs and expenses and taxes and duties and everything, for a small business that is a newbie, $50,000 might become a lot to pay.
Exactly, because exactly Naomi is saying the same thing. She means like, other than the curb, is there any other help? cause that's for my regular job. I need something to help with pay my space and the bills. That's exactly what you're saying. So you're thinking that is going to be something else released for the small businesses, that is?
I am hoping. I'm just going through the thing to make sure that there is nothing that I forgot. I'm hoping that is the case. You need to keep in mind, CAREB is for individuals, not for corporations, not for businesses. CAREB is for individual. If your family is 4-people family and you are over, and for anyone over the age of 15, if they meet the other criteria, they can apply. If you and your husband, you and your wife want to apply and you meet, then it is $4,000 a month, right? This is individual, regardless if you have a business or not. But for businesses, there are other criteria. And if your business is open and you are getting paid from the business, then CAREB doesn't apply to you.
Okay. Another question. I have a business started last year and don't have payroll for 2019. Is there a support for me as well?
No, not for now. But again, this is something that we brought it up because there are many people that are not on payroll. Small businesses, they are basically injecting money in their corporation. Not only they are not on payroll, they are injecting money in their corporation to make sure that the business can establish, right? And can pass basically the beginning cycle of their establishment. But at the end of the day, as of now, we do not have that program in place. Again, I keep telling my clients that yes, you are injecting money in your corporation, but still, if you are injecting money from your personal account to your corporation, still put yourself on payroll, although was not applicable to this scenario because now it is $50,000, but even $500 payroll, even $1,000 payroll would save you a lot from government communications and from audit.
Dr. Alex is asking a question. I don't know why he's asking that, but he's saying, what if we apply for the CAREB and we get the 2,000 per month and later on we found out that we were not eligible? I mean, that's a good question. Will we have to pay this back with the interest later or no?
Oh, Alex, come on. The question is that you're applying for $2,000? Oh my God. Okay, go ahead.
No. I mean, just later we find out. I think when they paid us, right? So then that's their fault. They didn't find out we are eligible or not. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Like, let's see what's the answer.
Okay, so basically a couple of points here. The government is saying that you are responsible to make sure that you are eligible, and you need to read the eligibility criteria. The system is based on trust, and if you are applying, you basically are signing a contract with the government and signing that this is something that you are basically eligible for. Also, the government has mentioned that abusing the system is a criminal record. It hits a criminal record. It is not a civic violation. It is not passing the traffic light. It is a crime, and it remains in your records for life. So in some huge cases, they also mentioned that up to 5 years of imprisonment. So that is one part of the question. The other part of the question, this is taxable. So if you get the money, you are eligible, you're good, everything is good. If you get the money, then you have to report it next year in your tax return. Third part of the question, talking about the interest, I believe that when somebody is receiving the interest and is not eligible, is receiving the money and is not eligible, the interest will be there, but the interest, according to what they have mentioned regarding the criminal and all those things, I believe the interest is the last to worry about, right? If I were you, I would contact them and I would tell them that this is a mistake, you made a mistake, and you are basically providing voluntary information, and you want to pay the money back. I would say that the best thing is to log into CRA under my account, and once you log in on CRA, you have a place that you can upload documents. Make sure that you write a letter, you provide the details, when you have applied, how much you have received, blah, 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 and upload that letter to at least protect yourself that this is the letter that I have received, that I have submitted, and I have the good intention. I do not want to basically get the money or abuse the system. That is what I would do.
Let me just ask a question here, because it is somehow related. So because as a physician, most of us, we have also a professional corporation. So like I'm pretty sure Alex has it as well. So we are getting income from our governmental insurance. So it's separate from the aesthetic medicine. So how to basically separate them from each other? Like, for example, if I still get some income on my professional corporation, am I still eligible to apply for the loan for my aesthetic business, because it's a separate corporation? Am I still eligible, or because I'm the same owner of the two businesses, so I'm not eligible?
If you are, this is a very good question. If you have two corporations, you can apply for each corporation that is eligible, right? This is very, very important. If you have, because somebody asked me another time, not here but somewhere else, that what if I have two corporation bank accounts, right? So you have two corporations bank account and you have one corporation. That is not the case. You apply only through one account. You cannot double dip. But if you have two corporations, then if both corporations or any of the corporations that are eligible to apply for the $40,000, you can apply for those $40,000 per corporation, as long as you have the eligibility. Talking about the payments, the $40,000 criteria has the decline in revenue eligibility, which is basically, as far as I remember, decline in revenue. So basically, this is something, or maybe if it is not declined by revenue, it is something that the bank reviews that, right? Talking about CURB, although you said that, but this is a good time that I also talk about this side of the story, about the CURB side. This is not exactly the answer to your question. I'm sorry about that, but let me talk about this because I have heard this a lot too. So you are basically getting money from insurance companies. You're getting money from different sources. And let's say you are receiving the money today, right? And this is more for a sole and partnership. You are receiving the money today for the service that you have provided 3 weeks ago. So where is this 14-day eligibility for CURB start? Because now you are receiving the money. So the person says, 2 weeks ago, I stopped working. I don't have any client, but the money has been deposited to my account just yesterday. And this money is because I provided whatever service a month ago, right? The answer to this question is that depends on the method of accounting that your accountant uses. We have accrual basis and we have cash basis. Usually for corporations, for businesses, usually accountants go with the accrual basis. This is a method that CRA accepts and prefers than the cash basis. Cash basis are for very small businesses, convenience shops, and all those, traditional businesses. The difference is the accrual basis is basically saying that you have recognized the revenue once you earn it, regardless when it is paid, right? So once you earn it, you are basically recognizing it as revenue. So that is why you have accounts payable and accounts receivable in your books. So your year end is over and you have some accounts receivable because you have issued the check. You have issued the invoice, but the check hasn't showed up yet. Okay. So this, if you are doing this, which is usually the case, you're good to go because you are receiving the money that you have earned 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So you're good to go. But if you are working on a cash base, which I don't think that is the case, then you only record the transaction when you receive the cash or when you make the payment. In that case, then your 14-day period is not going to have received the money today.
Okay. I can ask more questions?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Nadia is asking,
because
I think that you kind of answered, but what if you just open your own business a month ago? Can you still apply to any program? Because you still have to pay rent and bills even though it's a new business. I think you answered that.
well, if you do have to close, yes, if you do have to close it, then wage subsidy doesn't apply. The loan doesn't apply, and you basically your business basically falls in the criteria that the government, I believe, will announce sooner or later.
I have my own question. So if my business is, let's say last year, you said how much has to be reducing the revenue compared to last year, January?
It is 30%. There are two ways of doing it. Either you compare this year versus last year, and there is a chart. This year, March or April falls in a specific date period that they have provided, meaning sometimes between mid-March to mid-April. If you want to go on year-over-year basis, you basically compare this year's or this month's period versus last year's same period on your gross income, on your revenue. But there is another approach that you can choose, and once you choose one of these approaches, you have to stick to them. The other approach is that you can go with the average of your January, February of 2020, and if there is a 30% drop, then you're good to go, or 15% for the period that falls on March.
But the amount is not important, just the percentage, right? Let's say I have a corporation, the income was, I have a corporation that is not very active. Last year made, that this time made $20,000. And this time, obviously, because I didn't use it, so I didn't work too much towards it. So it now is like $15,000. It's a very small amount, but it still falls under the 30%. So I'm eligible to get $40,000 loan for that business as well, or no?
No. We are not talking about the loan. This is the wage subsidy. This is
For
the
that
wage subsidy.
Okay. So the loan, what are the criteria of loan for the loan?
The loan is not by CRA. The loan is by the bank, and the bank, what the government says is that the bank and financial institutions review your case by case. So there is no there is no criteria of the amount. There is no criteria of the amount, but you should, for the loan, you should have at least $50,000 payroll.
Oh, so the 50,000 payroll is for the loan, 30% reduced income is for the government
wage subsidy.
which, as Dr. Reza said, that doesn't really apply to us because most of the practices are non-essential and you cannot open it or keep it anyways. Okay,
Yes.
now makes sense. So then technically curve is the main topic here in this discussion, if I say so. So when it comes to the bank, we have to apply for each bank separately. They have their own criteria, right? We have to say what are your criteria based on the...
You have to apply to a bank, not each bank. You apply only one place. Basically, you cannot get loan from different sources.
Okay.
Right? Only one place for your corporation. So when you apply for the bank, when you apply to the bank for the 40,000, they want your business number, right? Which is the 15-digit number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, RC0001. So they want that, and they want the amount on box 14 of your payroll, which basically confirms that your minimum payroll issued is $50,000.
Okay. So I have another question. Abbas is asking, if I'm on payroll as a business owner, taking a monthly wage, can I apply for CARE at 75%? And if I have signed up for CARE through my bank, how is this resolved?
Sorry, this question is not really clear because the bank, the curve has nothing to do with the bank, and the curve has nothing to do with the 75%. Maybe Abbas is asking about the wage subsidy.
Yeah.
The wage subsidy is up to 75%.
For your employee, not for yourself.
If you are on the payroll of your corporation, you are an employee of the corporation as well. And this is 75% of the insurable earning. So if you have a professional corporation, you are making $300,000, right? Your payroll is $300,000. The government does not pay 75% of what you have been receiving. Let's say for 30, let's say just to make it simple, your payroll before this crisis was $360,000 a year, right? So basically, each month you have been receiving $30,000, right? Now the government is covering you, if you are eligible, for 75% of the insurable earning. So it is 75% of the 50-something thousand dollars, $58,700. Regardless what you have been receiving, the cap is $58,700, which basically translates to $847 a week. So if you have been making $5,000 a week, the government is going to pay you $847. If you were making $500 a week, the government will pay you $400 a week, basically 75% of the $500.
Okay, so Abbas, I hope it's clear for you. Chelsea, our instructor from Ottawa, is saying, thank you, Mr. Azizsoltani, much love from Ottawa. Your knowledge has been very reassuring. So,
thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't see any more questions unless, Dr. Reza, you have questions. Oh, I have one question myself. Sorry, subcontractor. If I have a subcontractor in my corporation, somebody
Thank you.
Thank you, whoever was. Okay, so if I have a subcontractor, I have let's say in our own organization, we have instructors and they come on a monthly basis, they teach for some courses. It's not a static field. But we have some similar, let's say in the static field, in static business, you have somebody come and take care of your computer job once a month, right? Or you pay them for the marketing. So these are the subcontractors. They are not on payroll. They give you invoice and you pay them. So is there any way you can help them also, or they can get something from you?
Nah, not for now. The only one that you can get the 75% is as long as the person is on payroll. So basically, that that contractor is a self-employed, and you haven't paid for his EI, you haven't paid for her CPP. So as an employer, you cannot be a bridge to get the money from the government and pay it to them.
But they can do their own care based on their own self-employment, right?
Yes.
That's one thing. I cannot help them, but they can do themselves.
That's totally a different ballgame.
For sure. Dr. Reza?
Okay, so again, a couple of questions now here. So again, just to make it clear, so at this moment, because the clinics are all closed, so the only options for our employees is going to be CURB for now until June 6th. If they are not extending that, if we are able to open the clinic after the June 6th, we might be able to do the wage subsidy at that time.
So June 6th is, let me see, what was the June 6th for? Because June 20 is not for the CURB. June 20 is for the wage subsidy, right? For the CURB, as of now, CURB is for a period of March 15 to December 2nd.
Okay.
Right? From March 15 to December 2nd, if you are eligible for any 4-week period, you can apply.
Okay.
And the government will give you the money in one shot for a 4-week period, which is $2,000 because it's $500 per week. Once you are eligible and you have applied and you got the $2,000, the next reporting period, if you are eligible, you need to apply again, right? And if you are eligible again, you can apply again. And you can do it for up to 4 times to the maximum of $8,000 or 16 weeks.
Okay.
That is for CURB. So did I answer your question? Or
after the 16 weeks, if they are eligible for the EI, they can apply for EI, basically.
Exactly. The government clearly mentions that for now, apply for CURB. Don't apply for EI. Apply for CURB. If you have applied for EI and you haven't received the money from EI, the government will transfer your application to CURB. If you have applied for EI before March 15 and the government has already started, they let it go as is and they basically do not transfer it to CURB. However, once your EI is final, is over, in whatever period you had 26 weeks or you had whatever number of eligibility, once that is over, then assess yourself, and if based on your assessment you believe that you are qualified for CURB, then apply for CURB. The other way around, if you have applied for CURB, you have received CURB, and your 4-time CURB 16 weeks is over and you still don't have job, then again go to EI, check the assessment, assess yourself, check the eligibility, and see if you are qualified for EI. Once you are, then apply for EI, and the government has promised that they are not going to take into account the money, the $8,000 that you have received against your EI. Because if for EI, if you work, right, like let's say if you work 10 hours regular time, not COVID, but if you work for a couple of hours, your EI benefits will be reduced, right? But they have promised that this is not going to damage, or they are not going to make any effect on your EI benefits.
And for eligibility for CURB, do they look at your individual income or as a family income? Like as example, if for example I still have my income, but my wife has lost the income because she's not working anymore, is she eligible for CURB, or they look at the family income?
It is not a family income. It is based on the individual income, and is based on the individual income,
So she want to say more.
regardless what the family income is. The individual should assess himself or herself because this is provided to individuals.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, more questions. We still have time, right? Deborah, I'm assuming is Deborah from Sydney, our instructor in Sydney. She says thank you as well. Shelby, Sydney, not Australia, Sydney, Nova Scotia. So yeah, Shelly saying thank you. I appreciate for all your help and guidance. Jean is saying that I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused. I closed my business, my corporation, because it's not essential and don't have income currently. Can I apply for CARE? I'm assuming that has nothing to do with each other. Two separate things, right?
Two separate things. If your corporation is closed, has nothing to do with your CURB. The CURB criteria is that you don't have income. So let's say your corporation is closed, but you are making money from hospital, then you cannot get CURB. If your corporation is closed, but you are, let's say you are a piano teacher, you are a music teacher, or you are a tutor, then you are making money, you cannot apply for CURB. One of the eligibilities for CURB is zero income, zero employment income. If you have a rental property and you're receiving rent, you're still okay because that is a passive income, it's not employment income.
So she's actually saying that I'm not employed. I'm not employed. Business is the only source of income for me. So technically,
then if she meets the other criteria, from the income point of view, she is eligible for CURB.
Abbas is trying to, I think, clarifying the question. He's saying that my question was regarding some banks have offered registration portals. If I have applied for benefits through the bank's portal, and as of now, I can apply for 75% of the wage with the $800 cap, I think through his employer, how can I resolve this issue? So I am eligible for the wage subsidy. I am taking a salary for my company.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused here, but keep this in mind. The eligibility for wage subsidy is based on people who are applying as a business. CURB is individual, a cashier in a restaurant, a waitress, all these people who are staff, who are self-employed, a plumber, all these people can apply for CURB. But for wage subsidy, the business owner is basically playing a bridge between the employees and the government, applies them for the money, gets the money from the government, and distributes it to the employees, and tops up the 25%, which is not mandatory, but the government says that urge to do it. And even for that 25%, the government has a program through Service Canada, which is called supplement. I'll give you the name in case you want to apply for that. Supplemental Unemployment Benefit Program. So this is another program that it is reviewed by Service Canada. It is not 100%, automatically approved. It is reviewed by Service Canada, but the government is saying that you can apply for this, and we can pay you up to the 25% of the salaries, so the money that you are topping up. So these are two different things. But if you are thinking about CURB, CURB is individual, regardless if you have a business or not. Your income has to be zero. Your income as an individual has to be zero.
Okay. There is another question. I think it's related to EI, but you said a deadline about EI. Veronica is asking, how long do we have to apply for EI after the last day of payment? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the government is not really clear on this, or at least I haven't seen anything. What I can tell you generally, and this is an exception, so don't quote me on this. Generally, the government says that if you have lost your job and your employer has issued an ROE. Let me correct myself. Let me paraphrase myself. Or if you have lost your job is not correct. If you have no uh, relationship with your employer, or you are on maternity or paternity benefit or sickness benefit, for any of these, and this is out of the COVID-19 period, once you are out of work, then you have 4 weeks to apply for EI. This is the regular EI that has been in place for many years. For the COVID, the government says once you have finished your 4-month periods, and it can be like you can apply for March and then you can apply for July. It doesn't have to be consecutive. Once you have done your 4-month period of curb, then you can apply for EI. But the government doesn't say that between the two, there is a deadline. I would say that this is something that when it comes to that, you need to check. For now, they haven't said anything because basically people are either on EI or on curb. Remember that this is a huge rollout for the government, and there are so many things that they are basically debugging every day.
Okay. Deborah is saying that apologies, I have another webinar, but thank you very much for the informative webinar. Stay safe and healthy. So
My
I don't
pleasure.
see any other question. So Dr. Reza, any question?
No. Yes, I have one question. So I know that the clinics are closed because I have a lot of friends that are dentists, and I know their offices are closed at this moment as well, is because they're non-essential services, but they have some kind of part-time opening for the emergency situation, which is not really related to the aesthetic. But I know that some of the aesthetic clinic, they still have they're giving some kind of service, like online services. They do online consultation, something like that. Uh, so is this still considered that the clinic is open and they can do some kind of the wage subsidy service if they are open, like a kind of online opening?
This is another thing that I believe the government is going to solve soon. The answer to your question is that if you are basically working, like let's say for the example of dentists, if they are basically covering the emergencies and their corporation is being paid, and you are not withdrawing the money, I believe that should be fine. But this is, to me, this is a huge area that the government should put attention, and I believe that they will. Remember, that is a huge thing that the government is doing. They are working day and night to do these things. So basically, there are people who are reduced uh, pay and they are not eligible for curb. Something similar to this case that you mentioned. Let's say, like some people are basically working for, or were working for like 2 or 3 employers in different restaurants, like Uber drivers and this and that they were basically doing their best to make ends meet, right? And now out of the 3 jobs, only 1 job they have, their income is 1/3 or half or whatever, and the curve is not seeing them, right? Because the curve is saying that it is 0. So for now, if there is $1 income, the government does not basically bring down the $2,000 to 1999, or basically saying like what it was for EI, that up to this amount of hours, if you work, your EI will be reduced, and if you become whatever number of hours employee, then your EI will be stopped. For the CARE, this is not the case, unfortunately. I'm hoping that the government makes some changes on this. I won't be surprised if it is tomorrow morning, because there's a huge sector of population that are affected by this.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any questions.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for attending. I don't see any other questions. So thanks again, Mr. Reza, for being with us today. So that was amazing, very informative. Hopefully we will have another one maybe in a couple of weeks or so when there is more updates, because it seems government is making so many changes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and once again, we are so grateful to all the colleagues that they are in the front line fighting for all of us against this COVID-19 situation. So, and as I said, we're going to record all this, and it's going to be available on our website on multiple platforms, and then it's going to be connected to a page that is going to have a form. In that form, you can write your information, and directly that will be received by Mr. Azizsoltani, and then he is going to answer directly to you. I have another question here. I don't know if you can quickly answer that or not. Abbas is asking again to clarify more. If I don't have enough money in the company to rehire my employees, how can I make it work so that I can cover their wages until the accrual payments come in for the employees? Should I wait until the loan comes in?
So first of all, the question is that if you can't even open it, is it part of the essential or non-essential? And once you are able to open, then basically you can benefit the 75% wage subsidy. You can apply for the loan. You can even apply now for the loan, right? You can apply for the sub to top up the 25% that you are paying out of your pocket. And also the government says that they encourage people, they encourage the business owners to top up. I haven't found any place that it says that it is obligation, and the government even mentioned that for some type of industries, they understand that rehiring is not feasible. I believe they are referring to the farming and fishery and foresting industry. But other than that, they are basically urging the employers to rehire the employees that are laid off, and also hire new employees and benefit the 75% and apply for the 25% under sub.
He's mentioning that he's a dentist. And Veronica saying the last question, if corporation had 30,000 payroll, there is no help, right? I think you answered that as well. So
yeah, there is no help.
Yeah,
there is no help for the corporation in regards to the $40,000 loan.
For sure. Okay then. Thank you so much again, everyone. So we're going to post the record probably by tomorrow on the website.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. No need to remind you that this presentation is only valid for today. Hopefully it is valid for next couple of weeks in some sense, and hopefully it is not valid in other sense, because if there are some improvements in the plans that people who are not entitled become entitled to receive these plans. Kindly, if you want to make any decision, review the website of canada.ca, CRA, Service Canada, and before making any decision, make sure that what you have as an information, what information you have is up to date.
Yeah, Veronica is asking if we have a website. I mean, obviously you are connected to us. We are Canadian Board of Aesthetic Medicine. We would put this this webinar on the first page, and then you would see it from tomorrow. So if you go to Canadian Board of Aesthetic Medicine website, we will actually, because it's very important and informative, we're going to put it on the first page. Link is going to be linked to the page that there is information of Mr. Azizsoltani there as well, and also you can ask questions again, and you will be connected with us. Okay. Thank you so much, and that's it, I guess. Anything else? No?
Thank you again.
No.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Okay, bye-bye.
Stay safe. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.